providers going to fight or going to work with them type thing, you know?
Well, not only that, I mean, over-the-top services are putting a big strain.
That's it, yeah.
Big strain on the service providers.
So how they're going to react.
Exactly.
It was your
The mall analogy.
the mall analogy. Exactly.
Well, I mean, I looked up stats. I mean, it says, you know, you hear talk about cord cutters, right? Everyone's cord cutting. Well, in reality, you're not really cutting the cord because most service providers are providing internet bandwidth. So, yes, they're not subscribing to traditional television services like your ESPNs and your Sportsnets, but they're using over-the-top services as their entertainment, such as Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, all those sort of things. And so it's putting a massive strain. Like I looked up a few stats, and there's some stats out there that are saying that Netflix accounts for 36% of downstream internet usage. 36%.
More than a third.
And YouTube is another 15%. So you're looking at over 50% of internet downstream content. 50%
It's just these two.
on these two services, over-the-top services. And so that's the biggest strain, is that there's a continuous demand. You're looking at 4K, there's more over-the-top services coming, and so they're continuously having to build more capacity to supply the demand. And these services are like the mall analogy we talked about. The mall, if you own the mall, you own the brick and mortar, you have to maintain the parking lot, you have to do the maintenance and all that, and someone comes in and rents a space in your mall and pays you a rent every month. Well, what's happening here is you look at Netflix, it's 36% of traffic, so basically they have
It's a big store.
It's a big store. They have 36% of your floor space and they're not paying you any rent.
Yeah.
So what do? This is the big dilemma for CSPs. They're footing the full cost of continuously upgrading their network and providing bandwidth because of this proliferation of these over-the-top services. And so that's where we're at. And so how do you...
So who's paying for this? Like there's infrastructure, there's the network, the equipment, there's the power. Power is huge on these server data centers. I mean, if Netflix is not contributing to this infrastructure, I mean, who is? Like it's the end users?
The end users are, you're seeing a kickback or a complaint from the consumers saying that, you know, internet prices are too high, that the CSPs are gouging them, but at the same time, they complain when they can't get these over-the-top services, the Netflix and the HBOs and all these Hulu services. They want 4K video, they want on-demand, and so the service providers are having to put that cost onto the end users.
But regardless, if the CSPs actually charge per upload, like these over-the-top providers, they're going to have to actually charge the end user more for the content.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the end, it's the end user that's going to end up paying anyway. But I mean,
and so, you know, just from an operational standpoint, you're seeing a continuous churn of the network in the head ends there. That's, you know, more capacity means more power, more equipment, better equipment, a new generation of equipment. So it's this constant cost for the service providers to try and keep up with the demand.
and as soon as more bandwidth is added, more capacity, well, they put more 4K content. It's always going to be full,
When
regardless.
the pipe is available, people
Yes.
want more, so they just get more out there. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I just saw a stat on Comark said that 42% of telcos are choosing to partner with those over-the-top service providers. 24% are thinking of competing, and 18% are going to transform their ways of their business model, and 14% are looking to specialize in the very niche market. So like a partner with these over-the-top service providers could maybe be a good solution to get more out there, have a win-win situation for both the end users, the over-the-top service providers, and also the communications providers. Like,
Is there a way though to, with the over-the-top providers, if they did partner with CSPs, are there solutions that can put their content in a narrower bandwidth while giving access to more people than the way it's done now? Some kind of broadcasting or
Well, these are the things that they're exploring.
Yeah.
And so you have a business model with the current CSPs, you have a business model with the over-the-top providers. So now they realize that it's kind of chicken and the egg. One needs the other, right?
Oh yeah.
The CSPs want to continue to grow and provide the bandwidth, and the over-the-top services want to continue to deliver more product. So they both kind of need each other. So it's these relationships that are starting to form or that are being talked about in the industry, and it's where they're going to find that middle ground that is both beneficial to both, obviously. It's got to make sense financially for both. And of course, the end user, right?
because one thing that the communication service providers do have that nobody has is the infrastructure, the delivery to the last mile, to the end users, right? That's something that they will always have, and they invested quite a bit in there. And I mean, this is required to bring any type of service to the end users. I mean, and on the inside, network virtualization and software-defined networks, I mean, these are all solutions, but the telecom service providers need to basically rethink their entire architecture in the data centers and make it so that you can integrate those over-the-top service providers as a solution and get away from this legacy systems, these analog, digital, closed systems, because it's just a different world on the back office equipment of these server rooms.
Is there an actual wall that we might hit at some point where it's just not physically possible to provide every end user with a 4K stream of their own, of specific content?
We haven't seen it yet. They'll find a way. But I think what's happening is that's what you're seeing with net neutrality. Is the service providers wanting to have some sort of control over their bandwidth. Right now, they have the bandwidth, and anyone and everyone can use that.
Mm-hmm.
And some, in their view, are abusing it, such as Netflix. We have the metrics to say you're using 36% of our bandwidth in some cases. So obviously you have a real problem here of an imbalance. And so for the service providers, where's the middle ground? Where do you, how do you?
And why would they want to partner with the CSPs? Because right now they have it for free, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's the business model, I think, because they're in competition, right? They're offering services to end users. Different end users want different ways of receiving the service. Some is more traditional, some is more on these mobile devices, or so it depends on the need out there, but there's room for everybody. I mean, to see a partnership, I think we could see probably gaps could be filled, and it would be a win-win situation, meaning that over-the-top service providers could have availability to more end users, and vice versa. The more traditional would kind of go into these over-the-top services. So it would just, I think, open new markets for both of them. Yeah, that's.
But yeah, that's what we discussed too. Was that partnership with Verizon or Comcast? States, it was just recently, where they're partnering with Netflix. They would be baked into their service. You order our internet service with us, and baked into that you have Netflix. Now that's where you're seeing true partnerships. So how does that look like? Well, then Netflix, have huge leverage. So now if you have multiple service providers competing in the same area, well, that's a huge advantage. Netflix partners with one or the other, right? So then you get into those types of scenarios, and then you're getting locked in, and then so you're having competing. So if that's the case, well, yeah, then price would come down because another service provider would say, well, we'll provide you this, but we're partnered with HBO, or we're partnered with whoever, and this is our price. And so you're going to start seeing these land grabs or these partnerships kind of emerge, and how that works out as far as price point is going to be kind of interesting, how that all shapes out.
I don't know if that would be a show for Netflix, because right now they have access to everybody. If they partner with a specific CSP, is everybody going to switch just for Netflix? Like,
Could be. Well, some will, some won't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what they're trying, right?
that's what they're
Looking for. But with their net neutrality, what you're seeing is the service providers want to control their bandwidth, which I mentioned earlier. So they would then, if they can do that,
Then they'd be willing to pay a premium.
well, then they can say, look, you're using us X amount of bandwidth, you need to pay us.
Yeah.
Or you kick it back and say, the service provider can say, okay, I've got, just for an example, I've got a fast lane, medium lane, and slow lane, and then I got a super fast lane. Because now I can control my bandwidth. And so you pay me a premium, or you pay me, and I make sure that all traffic directed to your content gets into the fast lane. Whereas
But then you
someone
don't
else-
have neutrality anymore, so it's
That's
not
right.
fair for.
Right. So a lot of you see in the industry, in the media, that it's all about freedom, and you're right, it is.
Mhm.
But it's just really a way for
But in the end,
the
if
consumers or the CSPs to control and to maximize their bandwidth.
If the Netflix and YouTube are, and apparently they are, taking over all of them. So, I mean, the trend is eventually they're doing better than the CSPs at providing content, right?
Yes.
So that's what the
So if that's the case, eventually the CSPs, they're no longer really service providers other than the actual bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Access to the end client.
yeah.
So it's like the rest of the world, that's what's happening. People are finding niches, they figure out what they're best at, and they focus on that. So, but at some point, if they want to make money, if their client base is getting swept away by Netflix and YouTube, they won't have a choice but to charge. And to me, if you charge per terabyte that uploaded from your, your services, you have net neutrality, because even the small guy, he's going to pay for what he's using, and so will Netflix and everything else. To me, that would, you still have net neutrality.
True.
The CSPs are still making money. I think that would probably be the ultimate solution.
But CSPs have never the CSPs have never been in the content game ever. Cable companies and telcos, they just took existing broadcasting,
Yep.
repackaged it,
Yeah,
and fired it off.
they don't make their own
No, the
content. Yeah.
CSPs have never been, unless you count the local bingo. But no, they've never created their own content. They've always been packaging. They license with the specialty networks, the sports networks, the A&Es, and all that sort of stuff. They take that. I have a distribution network. I can get that
Yeah.
to your.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
All of these sources of
Right.
data, either NBCs or A&E, and all of these.
We're paying.
Well, the same thing. Netflix and all of these over-the-top are becoming the new.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Broadcast.
The
Yes.
new broadcasters. So it's just what end users want, and if they don't work together, something will happen that we as end users won't be able to evolve with these services and go to the 4K and the VRs and all of these new technologies out there, this is what we want, and they have the medium to get it from the source to our home. So I guess.
Yeah. But traditionally what happened is the internet was never seen as a delivery method.
No.
And it crept up on it fast. And all of a sudden, because the traditional video services of the networks and all that stuff, it was gradual, it was over the air, then cable came, and so the CRTC was able to, legislate these regulations in the FCC in the States, and so they, license here, license there, okay, CANCOM, satellites, it all kind of progressed, and they all knew they were a partnership. The internet came on, and it just went woof, it opened up this big pipe, and people just started boom, and it just caught the whole industry like, wow, because you've seen it. For us who work in the industry, you see how, for better or for worse, how the omelet is made, right? You pull back the curtain, behind the scenes, technically, you're seeing the platforms for video and voice over IP and video on demand and all these platforms just continuously shrink and be dwarfed by DOCSIS, CCAP, and it's just taking over their whole their spectrum and their services, and it's because they need more capacity because these over-the-top services are taking over, and it just got them and so there's no legislation, there's no partnerships built, and it's just like now it's like, hang on, it's out of control there. We're getting to a breaking point.